realized the next day we were going to be catching up with the AIDS riders, which to me, and I've been trying to avoid people with AIDS my entire life, as far as, not that I have anything against people with AIDS, but typically I don't try to catch AIDS or try to go to a place that is full of AIDS. So,
tell us what's going on right now.
Busted a flat. About the third thing that's
Third stop today, baby.
Third stop today. We've gone about 15 miles maybe.
Tops.
How long have we wasted stopping?
A few hours at least.
Tell us what all happened today before we stopped.
Got about, 6 to 10 miles in, and Chris realized he forgot his camelback at the campsite. So he goes back to get it. I take a nap in a field. Chris comes back, we hop back on our bikes, go another, 5-6 miles, mostly downhill with the wind at our back. Then I realized my phone's not in my pocket. It fell out while I was taking the nap. So I turn around, go back uphill against the wind to find my phone laying in a field, get the phone, come back, get some food, get some liquid, get back on the road finally. Now Weston,
I fucked it all up.
Weston fucked it all up. Selfish, tight, on the tube, running over glass, so stop again. We're not riding our bikes. But we'll push forward and we'll make it to our destination today.
We're having a good time though.
The sun's out.
Making jokes.
It's warm.
Cracking them. Yeah, it's not raining.
It's not raining.
so fortunately we started early. But it wasn't until like 11 o'clock that we got past our first 10 miles. When we had started at like 5 that morning, we had woke up because of all this doubling back.
We probably got a good 15 miles on that next ride. And but the whole time I'm just knowing I'm trying to ride real soft and keep all my weight on the front of my bike so that back tire's not just bearing all that weight.
But we passed the bike shop we were meaning to go to, and there wasn't another one for a long time. So we waited at this convenience store for Weston to turn around and ride 6 miles back to a bike shop, replace his tire, and come back.
I borrowed Richie's bike, and right when I get on the bike, Chris's light that Richie's borrowed falls off and gets ran over. I'm like, dang it. The day just wasn't going good at all.
So at that point, I'm noticeably slower than everyone else. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm just gonna take off and get started ahead of you guys.
We kind of all got a little bit separated that day. Not separated, but just some distance between us, just our different paces. And I pulled over and put in some headphones and started listening to some good jams and got back on the road and just really enjoyed riding and just really appreciate that trip.
We rode into Lompoc, which was really cool. It's a couple of really big hills actually to get there.
We had a couple good hill climbs toward the end of that day too. That I remember. It was kind of towards Vandenberg Air Force Base, and it was getting to the end of the day, and there were some really long, really uphill hill climbs.
And they differed from the big hills that we were riding in Big Sur in that, in Big Sur they were windy big hills, so you were constantly seeing these false peaks. You had false peaks going into Lompoc as well, but you could see the peak the whole time you were on.
We finished our goal that day. Somehow.
I didn't know how my body was going to hold up on this trip, and I was pretty excited that I was holding up, and I was just feeling great. And that was one of the more enjoyable days.
We just kept riding in, and we got into Lompoc, and it was like 6 o'clock at night, which was, a pretty good feat for us because we had started so late. But again, because we had learned that lesson and started early, and learned that in bicycle riding and touring and distances, you really can't predict what's going to happen. So you kind of just have to go with it.
We finally get there after all this craziness. And the first thing we wanted, we get in pretty early, 6:30, so we're like, all right, we're gonna get something to eat, because the first place we come into is just tons of restaurants. So we find this burger joint, and freaking everybody buys so much food, like $20 worth of food, because we're just so hungry.
So there's some shopping center, and we ate at a burger place. Got a big old burger, a milkshake, and a salad.
Weston ended up eating at this Chinese restaurant where it was like an all-you-can-eat buffet, and he pretty much ate them out of house and home. To the point where when Dan and I walked in, it was like, the guy was like, "Oh, he's still here, no?" You know, he's still eating, because he ate for like an hour and a half straight of their food.
We finished eating, and we're like, okay, we gotta go to the campground. And we're like, well, I wonder where all these like AIDS guys are staying, because like there's only one campground here. So we get there, the place is bumping, and it ends up the AIDS ride is staying there. And we're like, oh, okay, sweet, dude. Well, we'll just go get a campsite and we'll say what up.
And sure enough, you know, AIDS ruined our day they had rented out the entire campground, and it was closed to everybody else.
But we kind of just pedaled in there anyway. We're like, you know, we're biking from San Fran. Like, we can stay here too. It's not a big deal. He's got a couple tents. So we biked on right in there, only to be stopped by G.I. Joe himself.
He ran into G.I. Joe. He just wasn't having it. He was like, "No, you're not staying here." And we're like, "We're doing the same thing, you know? We're bikers too. Can't we just sleep in all these open ones that you guys aren't using?" He's like, "No way, you're not part of the ride." We're like, "We'll pay you." He's like, "No." Like, "We'll donate to AIDS." He's like, "No, I don't care. You guys are dirty. Leave, or I'll call the cops."
We're all looking like normal people, like skaters, and we have normal clothes on, not like, I guess I had biking clothes, but the rest of the dudes, they just look normal. And we also have like all this gear, whereas nobody else on the AIDS ride has gear. They carry their stuff in like a semi.
And he wasn't having it. He told us to leave and walk our bikes out, which didn't happen, but was ridiculous. He even asked.
Chris is like, just laughs at him, laughs in the face. He's like, "Yeah, right, we're all right." And so we all ride off. And we stopped to talk to this other security guard that was a lady, and she was awesome. She like gave us some old burritos and and cookies. So we've had a heck of a day, and these people aren't letting us stay with them. And on their website, it's like visitors welcome. So we're thinking, oh yeah, we could just sleep and talk to all these other bikers. We're fine paying, you know, for the campsite, but they have the whole campsite closed down. And we call Richie, you call the police department, and they're like, "Nope, not allowed. You're gonna have to ride like 25 miles to this next campsite."
But ended up, some of the truck drivers like heard our story, like these dudes they're driving the food trucks, and they're like, "Hey, well, we're parked over here in this dirt lot, like, if you guys want to camp by us, then we can hide you in and no one will know you're there, so you can't get in trouble." And we're like, okay, that doesn't sound like too bad. I mean, it's better than us trying to find a hidden spot on the side of the road somewhere.
They were like, "Well, shit, just fucking, you know, you can put your tents in between our two trucks over there and like just get some sleep. Like, we're just, you know, we're working for these guys. We don't care. Like, as long as nobody cares, that's cool."
Wes and I were about to fall asleep, dude, and we hear the truckers like coming back to their trucks to fall asleep, and they're just having this like really heartfelt moment about like, "Oh man, I'm so lonely on the road. Like, yeah, I just wish I had a partner to come with me, like just somebody to pass the time, you know?" And we're just like, dude, it's true. Like, they are lonely, just looking for somebody. So it's like this really funny thing, you know.
We're worried about him trying to do something to us, talking about how lonely he is. Him coming in our tent at night or something.
You know, we just said our Hail Marys and fucking hope we didn't get raped by these truck drivers that offered up their beds to us, and we slept right there. And actually slept pretty well, considering.
That was a good night. We had our own private porta potty.